Hey everyone. So have you heard this recently? I'm just going to preface real quick here. It's like if you are a naturalized citizen of Canada and your heritage stretches back multiple generations, I don't care if you're French, English, or wherever you come from, wherever your background, wherever your history, wherever that originated from historically, if you're a Canadian, you know damn well as a Canadian, this country is predominantly comprised and always has been comprised of Anglo-Saxon principles and values that was predominantly reliant on and acknowledged Enlightenment era ideals. And who were those who created up, who conjured, who thought up those Enlightenment era ideals? Yeah, a lot of white people, right? Think about the Scottish Enlightenment, the French, the English. I mean, you're talking some very, very white people here, right? And those are the people that predominantly set up the structures, which is the government of Canada or the US or the UK or Australia or New Zealand. But, these Western countries, these Western cultures now all acknowledge that, yes, there were some First Nations people, some Aboriginals that may have, claimed a particular segment or portion of that particular country. And they still live here. They haven't been kicked out. As a matter of fact, they got a lot of entitlements because of a lot of fucking theft and forced income redistribution put forth and presented by and imposed on the people by the central planning hacks. But predominantly, the whole pretense is that, yes, Canada is comprised of Anglo-Saxon type or oriented principles and values. It always has been, and I'm not an oracle. I can't predict the future, but currently, to suggest that none of that means anything, well, that puts you at odds with reality as far as I'm concerned. Like I say, I'm not about skin color, folks. I'm about ideas. But for this kind of shit to happen, like the optics of it, even the political messaging, the political narrative, I don't know why they think that this is a good idea at all. Anyways, this is a headline out of the CBC News under the politics section, of course, but it's being covered by many other established media outlets, and I'm sure there's a lot of people in the alternative media that are covering this as well. But listen to this headline. Not Canadian. Hussen MacLeod exchange sharp words over asylum seekers crisis. Ontario's immigration language is irresponsible, divisive, fear-mongering, says Hussen. This is being reported by Peter Zimonjic from the CBC News, July 13th, 2018. A meeting between Canada's federal and provincial immigration ministers ended bitterly Friday with Federal Immigration Minister Ahmed Hussen openly criticizing the Ontario government for what he called a dangerous and unCanadian approach to the issue of asylum seekers. Okay, I'm going to say this one more time, just to make sure it's clear here, folks. All those white people who say, hey, your parents or your ancestors, they were fucking immigrants as well. Well, guess what? There was no welfare state when our ancestors came here. They had to fucking step up and pony up and deal with things on their own. They had to be self-sustaining, self-reliant, right? They had to rely on not forced subjugation, not forced income or wealth distribution, but, friendly societies, the church, volunteers, their family, their community from helping each other. That's how it was done. And you know what? That's the way it should be done even today. But with central planning, with forced subjugation, with quasi-socialism implemented in Canada, well, look, this is the reality that we see. This is the culmination of all this stuff that's unfolding today, folks. Is they try to pretend that modern day illegal asylum seekers or economic migrants are somehow comparable to, like, the Irish or the Scottish or those who came from old world Europe that were fleeing persecution from monarchs and dictators and literally, in perilous dangers. Those who came across here, even as indentured servants or slaves predominantly, but they were so desperate to seek freedom that they were willing to do it and flying blind and do it on their own with no help from no central planning government. You're trying to compare those people to the people that today, like I say, are flowing and pouring across the borders because they realize that, hey, we can live basically for free off the backs of the domestic population in Canada, the US, or like I say, a lot of these Western societies. Or look at what's happening in Europe. Wow, folks. And you wonder why there's so much pushback against this kind of shit. Yeah. Because reality matters. because logic matters, and not necessarily because of tribalism, but yeah, you better believe that that's something that's stuck into people's heads in their psychology, and you're not going to beat them out of it in a matter of like something that's been built up over countless generations throughout human biological and evolutionary history. You're not going to beat them out of it in a matter of what, a generation or two. Yeah, that's not going to happen. Nice try though. I'll give you an E for effort. That's the best you're going to get. They've chosen to use false language with respect to so-called queue jumping, when we have told them over and over again there's no such thing, Hussen told reporters in Winnipeg at the closing press conference. Asylum seekers are processed in a separate queue at the IRB, and all the other regular immigration programs are processed by IRCC. And conflating the two knowingly is irresponsible, it's divisive, it's fear-mongering, and it's not Canadian, and it's very dangerous. Not Canadian. So basically what he's suggesting is Lisa MacLeod, which I would suggest she's probably from Irish or Scottish descent, but she's un-Canadian, apparently, according to Hussen. Right? How un-Canadian of you, Lisa, right? For daring to suggest that illegal migrants or asylum seekers pouring across the border and forcing the Canadians to have to pony up for them. How dare you suggest or step your foot into that when Hussen's telling you, oh, you're not Canadian for doing such thing. Wonder what most Canadians think of this. I want to know. So chime in the comment section here, because I want to know what Canadians are truly thinking about this kind of stuff. Because to me, the political messaging and the optics, it's the liberals is like, man, you fuckers, I thought you guys were fairly decent at marketing, right? I thought you guys were fairly competent at that stuff, of selling a message, selling a narrative. This doesn't seem to be working out for you very well unless you're appealing to people that you really believe are going to take over the culture of Canada, that aren't representation or not even close to aligned with what are considered what old stock Canadians, right? Is this the shift that Trudeau's predominantly positioning or posturing about? Is this the un-Canadian, that there is no core Canadian identity or values that we held? Is this your political posturing because your new masters or the new owners of Canada are not even going to be closely resembling the old owners of Canada? Is that what you suggest? Is that what we're all supposed to take away? Is that the kind of message you're trying to send to the Canadian people, Trudeau? Or Hussen? Because, yeah, you might want to talk to the Canadian people and ask them what they truly think about that particular kind of political rhetoric or messaging. Something tells me you probably see or hear a lot of pushback that you would once again pretend that, oh, it's a shocker, I can't believe Canadians are like this. Well, yep, Canadians are, or a lot of them aren't anyways, at least. So you can deny it all you want, but that reality, it exists, like it or not. Like I said, folks, I'll post the link to the article in the description of the video below, but I'm not going to read anymore. Like I said, that's all I really need to point out, is Hussen is telling Lisa MacLeod that she's very un-Canadian for not wanting this mass influx of illegal so-called asylum seekers that are fleeing the persecution from one of the most freest countries on the planet, namely the United States of America. What a world we live in today, folks, when there's some idiot political propagandists out there trying to suggest that we need to protect these illegal asylum seekers from the Americans. The Americans, which has the most freest constitution. If you read the American Constitution, it literally gives their population the pretense of the most freedoms that have ever existed in all of human history in comparison to all other countries. That's the other thing. What are you leftists? What countries are you comparing us to? Or the Americans to? What are these countries that got so many more freedoms and have been so prosperous socially or economically as the U.S.? Well, who are these countries? What? Not, it sure shit ain't these Nordic countries, because hey, you're seeing them. They're getting ready now, and they have been now. Closing the fucking doors on your bullshit, on your leftist diatribe, on your leftist agenda, your globalist agenda. So you're running out of people to align with. You're running out of people that are willing to stand up and agree with your political posturing and positioning. You might want to think about that. Even though I know you politicians, short-term thinkers, but even when you get out of politics or you lose your power of position of authority, you're still going to have to live on this world, and especially if you live in Canada, you're still going to have to live here somehow. You're going to have to, own up and acknowledge that there's a lot of people out there that are going to hold you accountable for the positions, for the political edicts, for the rhetoric that you espoused in the past. It's Canadian Libertarian, and I love liberty.